Good day, podcast community. Pete Kane here, Podcast Pete and certified high performance coach. And man, do we have a special guest. We tried to do it on the move on the patio. Our system wasn't ready for it. So I asked her if she would come back and we could do it another time so we can bring Kimberly to you, the community. So, Kimberly, tell our viewers who you are, what you do, and who you serve, and then we'll get into our podcast.
Thank you. Thank you, Pete, Podcast Pete, for having me here. Thank you, community, for welcoming me back. This is truly an honor. I'm Kimberly Haase. In this day and time right now, I'm candidate Kimberly Haase, but what I do is I serve my community, but my special love and my soft spot is for the senior citizen, active senior citizen. And so in 2013, I created a business called iLoveKare, which is a concierge service for active aging adults.
I love it. You know, I lived in an Overtura senior facility for almost 2 years. And so I kind of got a taste of senior living from living with them. And, you know, I've always believed that we get to a stage in our life, we got to pamper ourselves. You know, we've done so much, we've worked so hard. And, you know, we don't always want that pampering because we feel like we got to still work or whatever. So tell me, what was the genesis of you pouring into seniors? Why did you do it, and what was that like when you were thinking about this service?
Great question, Pete. Going back before I started the business, I was in a personal situation where I needed to be served and helped. And it was the senior population I felt that helped and give me that hand. And I promised myself that if I get back on my feet, I would return my first son. And I wanted to be an at-home mom, but realistically, I needed to go and work. Back in the late 90s, there was no systems that really helped in that capacity. And so what I did was I was looking for a job where I could be with my son at the time and yet work. And I found a personal care home who needed someone to live on site with it was almost community living, gentlemen. And it was structured where it was in a neighborhood personal care home, and it was family style, the way you ate, the way you carried on. And they hired me. In the interview, Pete, I had my lap child dressed up if he was going on an interview. I was dressed up as going on an interview, and I sat there and I did my interview, and I was hired, and I just knew I was just so grateful, Pete, so grateful that I made a silent commitment that when I get on my feet, I am definitely going to serve the senior population, and that ignited the fire in me.
I love that. Just for a little logistics, if there's any tabs opening on your computer, could you close them out? Because there was a little gap there in audio, and usually the streaming will pick up anything that's interfering with the transmission. That way we can make sure people can hear you. Okay.
Yes.
All right. So I love that. So as you started serving seniors, what did you notice? Like you're there firsthand, you're with them. Like, how could you share with our community that lesson or the the journey that you went on, what did you discover that you didn't know before you started leaning in and serving the seniors?
Well, like I had stated before, I started this journey in the late 90s. And what I went from, I climbed up. I went from group home to private to corporate to, I just saw a lot. And what I institution style organization. And what I realized was that there was a gap between seniors who still wanted to do, who still had the desire to do, maybe not do it as quickly and as swiftly, but they every now and then when they would want to do, they did want to do, but they needed that assistance and they needed that help. And so I, in 2013 said, you know what, I'm going to come in and I'm going to be that gap, that bridge that gap to the aging adults who don't really want to move from the memories and histories of the home or wherever they reside. If they co-shared or co-living, as far as maybe have an apartment or a suite on the side of the home, they still wanted their autonomy. They still wanted to have their life, but just needed a little bit of support. And so I thought that, you know what, we can come in, we can support, and we can be the eyes. We can see, and because we have been in this industry so long, we could be the eyes to see when things are changing, when necessary change needs to be done, or you come in, you can, and then it helps. So that was kind of really what I wanted to do, and that's what we have been doing for over a decade with iLoveKare.
I love it. You know, I noticed living in Overture that grandparents would move to be closer to kids and their grandkids. That was the primary thing. But moving from a house to an apartment is a very drastic change because you're releasing memories. You're only can only fit so much in a 1-2 bedroom apartment, and you have a house that you're trying to consolidate. So there was a lot of that detachment from that home. And I guess what my question is, because my mom lived in her house until she was 95, and my brother lived there for a whole year. My sisters, one's a nurse, they're always there. She lived longer by being in her own environment, but she needed assistance. She needed a lot of assistance because of just the age and the things. So, what kind of people like are they calling? And like, is it a certain age group that they recognize that I need some extra care, I need some extra love? Who is reaching out to Kimberly to have you come in? We have a frozen Kimberly. Yeah, I guess the forces are working with us eventually. Okay, there we go. Oops, here she comes. She'll come back in just a second. There we
Okay,
are. All
there
right,
we go. I
please.
was about to change the
You weren't
Wi-Fi
as good when you weren't answering the question. So, did you
now,
hear the
right?
question?
So, great question. I have a mixture, right? I have the individual their self. They still, again, want to have some type of control over their day-to-day life, right? So I have from the individual their self. I have from the care team who are so tasked out with the daily of their task and their living that they want to go ahead and buy back their time, right? They want to go and allocate that time to someone else. So then when they do sit down with their family or their loved one, it's quality time and it is it's direct time that they can be the family and have those quality time and not necessarily have to do tasks while they're around. I find too it's also the sons. I get a lot of those that it's their family, their loved one, and they don't want to burn out their wife and their family, so they allocate the task to an outsourced service like iLoveKare to help with that. And going back, like you said, a lot of times I think it's dreamy that families do come down and they move closer to their family, and that's great and that's wonderful. And a lot of times the grandchildren are young, right? They're at that age that going to baseball games and having that memories and those pictures are wonderful. But then there is a gap that when the grandchildren get just a little bit older, they want to start breaking away and developing, right? Their independence. And so then what happened, right? You've left your family, you've poured all your time and energy to your grandchildren, and then now there's a pause. And so what helps with iLoveKare is then we help assess in that time frame, so you can start gaining a community and find out new discoveries that you might have never thought, and introduce you to your own little world that you can thrive in also, and it's not so dependent
Mhm.
on your immediate family.
Wow, that's good. We met each other through the Rotary Club in North Cobb, and serving in your business, serving in what you do. What how did you come about like wanting to give back to the community through a Rotary? What was that like? What was that decision? Were you invited? Did you hear about it? Walk our community through what your thinking was when you first came to Rotary.
So being a Rotarian, I think I was born, right? I just didn't have a title to that, but just serving the community is just who I
Mhm.
am, right? And being able to find others like me, right? Many hands make light work was just amazing. I did not know that it was even a group out there that related to what I like to do anyway, and that is to serve. I actually, Rotary found me. I was out in the community. I was at a community event,
Mhm.
and some Rotarians came up to me and said, I think you would enjoy um, coming to breakfast and understanding and seeking what Rotary is and what it's all about. So I was able to go in. And when I went in, especially the North Cobb Rotary group, I just fell in love right away. I feel like our group does an amazing job with balancing serving, having fun, and just being able to come together and make our community a greater place and a better place. And so, with those combinations and meeting people like you, Podcast Pete, I mean, why not? Why not? And I love it.
Yeah, I tell people this story, and for those that don't know it, I joined just a little bit after Kimberly, and I remember saying like, "How many years have you been in Rotary?" And she goes, "Years, try months." Like I just joined, and it was because my impression was that you knew everybody, that you were kind of like you knew the whole club, and I couldn't imagine that you'd only been in there a couple months. So my question is, because we have like about 130 and everybody's serving, everybody's giving, everybody is out there in the community. You were recognized uh, the pre this year or for
Mhm.
last year as the Rotarian of the Year.
Yes,
So what I mean, a lot of people don't know what that means because they don't even know what Rotary means.
right.
But what was your like when you were awarded that by your fellow Rotarians? What did that validate anything? Take us back to that moment when you got that award and
I
what you
was
thought.
shocked. I was shocked to be honored, one by my peers, right? To you can do this work and is admirable work, right? To be able to serve within your community, and then when you start doing it, that just is a of who you, and that's what I was doing, Pete, in my community. And so when I was honored with that amongst my peers, I was honored, I was humbled, and I was surprised to be able to get such an award. And I think for me, it's the meaning that my peers recognized and they appreciated the work that I have done to honor the and be the Rotarian for 2025 through 2026. And
Mhm.
so with that, I believe that now it amplifies me to be able to not only say I'm a Rotarian, but then able to be able to represent in this year serving with the recognition of being Rotarian of the Year for North Cobb Rotary Club.
Well, that's awesome. I want to congratulate you publicly because it's not only is it a great award to be recognized by your peers, but when we're out there serving, we don't expect anything except we just have the heart to serve.
Mhm.
I know I want to get into you do a lot of serving with our law enforcement community within Acworth. So with that, how can you share with our community why do you want to serve in that capacity with people that are always serving us, but sometimes don't get the recognition that they
Yeah.
deserve? So share with our viewers our community what that means to you to serve people that are out there serving in our community, like our Acworth police officers.
So, being part of North Cobb Rotary Club, I was honored and asked to be the liaison between the Rotary Club and our Acworth City Police. And so, what we did as a club, we purchased a commercial refrigerator to keep
Mhm.
drinks cool and snacks for the police, Acworth Police Department. Now, I love it because part of being a Rotarian and our motto is goodwill. And a lot of times people think that goodwill has to be something that's huge or, but just as simple as just bringing in quarterly drinks and some snacks and just saying thank you. The gentlemen feel appreciated, they feel valued, they feel seen. And a lot of times, no matter what we're doing out here in this world, those are the two basics that we want to know. Do I matter? Am I seen? Is my work making a difference, right? And being able to show that in that manner and in that fashion as being able to bring snacks and drinks and having the support from the North Cobb Rotary Club, it's amazing. And the gentlemen at Acworth Police Department truly appreciate that goodwill gesture.
Ooh, I love that. I really love your journey, and I want to go into another part of it. You're continuing to serve, and the capacity, I know within the policies of a city require people to serve in different functions.
Mhm.
So share with our viewers why you decided to step into the political part of serving, which is not an easy part. Share with our viewers what on earth were you thinking about when you went to step into this?
Pete, I sometimes ask myself, what are you doing, right? What are you doing? I believe I'm stretching myself, right? And I'm
Mhm.
stretching the capacity of how I can serve and the length of how the impact can be reached within the community of the city of Acworth. Yeah, this right now to date is probably one of my toughest challenge to serve
Mhm.
because I think when you want to serve, you have the heart to serve, have been recognized in Servant Leadership Award as far as at your state level in Georgia, at your community level, and then civic level amongst your peers, and then to want to serve in this policy form has been a challenge. I won't lie; it has not been an easy task, but it has been rewarding for me to get out here and introduce myself and believe in myself to know that I can make a greater change at the policy level within the city of Acworth, Georgia.
I love it. I want to just touch on one thing. We've had a conversation, at various times, and I'm a firm believer in if you're healthy and you're serving your own needs, then you can serve other people's needs. What does self-care mean to you?
Great. Knowing when enough is enough. Self care is making sure while you're serving, there you are putting in, scheduling in enjoyable moments for you, whatever that enjoyable moment look like for you. And also, I feel like a healthy servant, there is cycles. If you had to ask me about 15 years ago, would I run for Acworth City Council? That wasn't my season. I am a firm believer in family. And so my focus was in my family, making sure my young adults now came home from school and saw me and part of the PTA program and, room mom. I served in those capacity. But I believe for a healthy community that each season of your life, you can choose another form of serving. Look, it doesn't have to be grand. It could just be that neighborhood home that the kids find that safety. It could be the greeting at your local grocery store to the people who work in your grocery store. But I choose the policy level because I believe I can have a greater reach for my community. And so for me, it is to know the timings within your life in the capacity that you can serve. And I also do believe that after, you have served in a great capacity, then there's an evolution of mentoring, sitting down and reaching back to the next generation. Right in the middle, you are pulling someone up and you're looking towards someone, right? So you're being mentored, but you are also mentoring someone else. And
Mm-hmm.
so right now, I believe that with my timing, with my blessings of my family, that this is a time in my community that I can help, and the season and scheduling in times that is enjoyable for me is self-care. And that's how I balance my self-care.
I love it. Um, I want to speak to you as a mom. Not that I'm a mom. I'm just like,
Yeah.
tell me what, because kids are under a microscope today.
Hmm.
Never, I mean, we grew up and social media wasn't the big thing, and technology's changing. How do you prepare your kids for the changing, adaptive, crazy world that we're in, and get them ready for that as you say, the journey ahead?
Yeah. Great question. I think I podcast piece, I think I slid through that era, right? I think with my young adults, they're at the discovery age, right? So they are out of that teenager years. They're now at the let's take what I've learned in the home, let's compare it to what society is saying, and then let me come to my own conclusion. So that's where my young sons are. So the technology for us at the time, I was able to control that a little bit with having the systems that were in place where you could cut down your Wi-Fi internet within the home. And there were just tools that I used that helped me along the way. Look, I tell any parent right now that is in elementary school, in high school, in middle school right now, that they are built for this. And I think that's what it is. Each parent is built for the generation that's coming behind them, right? So I'm pretty much kind of closer to your age podcast, Pete, where technology wasn't inundated with us, right? But this next generation of parents, they lived with technology. So they're a little bit more savvy for that next generation of children. So I think kudos to the parents out there now that's not only raising their children um, for the world out, but they are also inundated. Their children are inundated in different things. And so it's not just their imprint in their children's processing mind, but it's flooded with so much information, Pete. So I guess you would have to ask someone who might be able to answer that question a little bit better,
Yeah.
because I feel like I kind of slid through this era of technology and did not have the pressures that these younger parents are having.
Yeah, it's certainly out there. And I know just talking to different moms and dads that are, because I go over to Kennesaw Mountain, not that I talk to their parents, but as sophomores. So I get to interact with them once a month. And, I talk to the teacher about just that journey. They were in sixth, seventh grade when COVID hit, and the social skills weren't developed because we had a couple years of isolation, and now they're kind of being thrown into the development of their high school years. And it's a challenge because we all develop those social skills, and it's important because we get our energy from people. We don't get them from screens, but we're sometimes, kind of subtly consuming too much media, which doesn't help us make those connections. I want to ask you on this. So let's just say I run into you and I say, "Oh, Kimberly, so you're running for city council. So why should I vote for Kimberly?" What
What?
would you say? What would you say to a person that doesn't know you like me? What would
Yes.
you say? I bump into you. I'm interested in what's going on in the Acworth community, and I just propose that question to you. What could you
Yeah.
share with
Yeah.
us?
Yeah. Door knocking. I believe what I can bring into Ackworth. I'm so appreciative of the gentlemen who have been in place and have been in there over decades, that have sat there and have developed Ackworth to where it is now. They've did kudos. They've did an amazing job. But I do believe that what I will bring is for the next generation and the next part of Ackworth's development. As you just discussed, the technology aspect, bringing in dating, how do you bridge the gap between technology from a generation who don't really incorporate technology in their day-to-day life, but are being thrust into using technology. I believe I can help with that. I believe bringing in more software systems and technology to help structure and help streamline some of the information within the city would be a great opportunity for me to be a part of. These gentlemen who are in office now, technology, they didn't do technology, and that technology is something that they're learning, but how to make it a streamline within the community would be something that I think it would take a younger generation to help, and that would be me. I also believe I'm a transplant. I was not born and raised in Georgia, even though I love Georgia, have been here over 20 something years. My children have grown up into Georgia, and a couple of them are citizen. I mean, are born and raised Georgians, right? But I think the gentlemen before us, they have structured a community that have welcomed transplants. But at the policy level, when you look at the policy level, there is no representation of those transplants that have now embarked upon the city of Acworth, who are now paying taxes, who are now raising their children. And so I think you
Mhm.
should have a representation, Pete, of what your demographic is looking like. Look, Acworth is a high population of women. About 52% of them are women. And there's no one on the policy level to represent that. It's a young generation. Our average age is about 34 in the median age. We don't have anything that really, to me, speaks to that. You kind of, if you would go just on the surface look, you would think Acworth is an older population, which is it's not. It's young families, it's families. And so I think even at the business level, economic level, people are getting tired of quality of life, spending their days, years, and time on the roads. And so to be able to welcome in businesses that will be livable wages to come into our community, not just restaurants and bars, though those are fun, but to be able to have someone say, you know what, I want to actually live, work, and rest in my neighborhood. And we have businesses that can accommodate that. So you can, if you want to ride your bike, if you want to ride your scooter, you can ride it to work. What amazing concept that would be, that you don't necessarily have to get in a vehicle and drive hours back and forth to be able to live, right? And then then be able to have people spend more time to enjoy the parks we have, the lake that we have, and the restaurants, right? Because then you are able to have that time and you're able to want to enjoy the structures that is around. And then the small business aspect, I would like to shine light. We have a high overturn of businesses in the downtown area. We get in a momentum, and then the business, be able to get some businesses that can actually, small businesses that can be stay there and that can be representative. The lake is great, it's a seasonal, but I would love at the policy level to be able to make Acworth a destination, not a marketing slogan, but actually truly a destination where if I say, hey, Pete, I've got, come on down and visit Acworth and come and hang out down at the shops or wherever you choose. That there are some unique little shops that you really truly want to stay and want to spend a time in your economic dollars within the city of Acworth.
Love it. I want to encourage our community because when you have people like yourself, Kimberly, that have that heart to serve, those are the kind of people we want in our community in positions to influence the policy of our city, because too many times we have self-interest and we don't have that servant heart. So I want to encourage our viewers to share this video with people that may not know who Kimberly is, but know what she represents, the kind of person she is, the impact she's making, the journey that she's been on for many, many years of service. We want to continue her serving in our city because we can have a brighter future for Acworth when we have people like yourself. So thank you, Kimberly. What would be how could people get a hold of you? Because if they want you to come speak to their group, they want you to share your vision of Acworth with their community, their group, how could they get a hold of you?
Right. I can see right now I put a different L, but it's love, one L, iLoveKare.com. On the screen, I actually accidentally typed another L in there, but it's iLoveKare.com. Or my telephone number is 404-692-0539. Or you can find me in just around doing serving in any capacity. Normally, I am with the Rotary group. We're normally the ones wearing bright yellow shirts and Rotarians at work.
Awesome. I love it. So what would be the one thing you would want to take home? What would you want to share with our community? The one thing from this podcast that you would want our community to take home?
Yeah, I think right now, if I could really campaign, I would really campaign on just kindness, right? Just when you see someone, a smile, a nice comment. We're just inundated with social media just being really mean and bullies. And I think right now we just need to have compassion, understanding. And right now, I don't even think we need to talk so much about our opinions. I just think right now we just need to express gratitude, breathe, and enjoy our environments, and just a kind word, just anything that you could say when you walk by. I was in a grocery store the other day, and a young lady just gave me a compliment, and it just made me feel good after I left and pushed my
Mhm.
cart, and I was like, now that's nice, right? And so that's what I think. I think we should talk less and just start, just complimenting people and being kind.
Awesome. I want to thank you for bringing your heart to our community, because I don't think we could have a way to do it, but if we could clone Kimberly, the world would be better off if we could put more Kimberlys out there. So thank you, Kimberly, for spending the time from
Thank
your
you so
busy
much.
schedule to share with our community your heart and your heart to serve.
Thank you so much.